So in our previous classes, we looked at query parameters, we looked at path parameters, and also we looked at the request body. The request body. So in addition to those parameters, we're going to look at two other kinds of parameters. Two, two other kinds of parameters, and which is the header and the cookie parameter. So you may be wondering, so where do we use the header parameter? Or why do we need to actually use the header parameter? So the thing is that we use header parameters to actually pass meta information, like additional information to a specific request. So let's say we want to carry out, let's say, a GET request to a specific URL, and then maybe that URL need additional information such as authentication, kind of authentication keys and the rest of them. Now, these we can actually send in. Not that we can, but then it is recommended that we send this kind of information via the header parameters, and such parameters that we can actually send via the header parameters are authentication tokens, user agent, and content types. And when we, as we proceed, and then we start using all these things, we will see how we actually use these things, how we can actually process them, and how we can send it to client as well. So without wasting time, because I promise you guys that this class will not span up to 30 minutes. We'll just dive into the code, and then we see how we can actually implement header parameters and cookie parameter. All right, so as usual, I will open up our project folder and get our development server running. So quickly navigate to our project folder, which in my case is in my desktop. Yours could be anywhere else. I have mine here, and we are seeing the memories of project one. So I'll open this up in my terminal so I can activate my environment. That there, and activate my environment, and then activate. Change directory to the main folder and open up main folder in code. VS Code, and then run our server by saying uvcon main the first API instance app / reload. Okay, so our server is up and running, and this was the where we left us in our where we left off in our last class. So we looked at the query, and we looked at the path, we looked at the body, and we can say that we can as well use annotate to actually add additional information to a specific variable or to a specific parameter. So we are going to do similar thing, okay? So same as we have query and path and body, we also have header and cookie in the same directory where we imported those in the previous one from, okay? So quickly, I'll just bring up my cookie here and also bring up my header parameter. And then we will see how we can actually do this. So to actually implement cookie parameters or to actually make a specific URL to expect a cookie parameter alongside that request, we will, of course, we create a route as usual. So I'll copy this, and I'm still actually continuing from our previous code, right? So this is not a new file. This is the old file that we used. So for those of us that were not there in the last class, this was what we did in our last class. So I'm just simply continuing from there. Right? So I'm simply continuing from that file. So I'll put this down here. And in this case, I'll make this to be a GET request. Okay, to make this a GET request. And in this case here, I would say, let this be dashboard instance, right? A dashboard route. And and then this route is gonna take specific things. So I'll call this dashboard my function name. And for now, we'll parameter empty. So that is how we can simply create our route. And this is our route, and what is a get request, and this is the route function. And of course, this function must return something. So I could simply come here and say that I'm actually expecting a header at some point, right? A header variable, a header parameter. And of course, we know that if we leave this like this, right? If we leave this like this, so I'll simply return header. If we leave this the way it is, Fast API will automatically assume that this man here is what? That man there is a query parameter, right? So we need to explicitly let Fast API know that this man here is not a query parameter, but then a header parameter. It means that whatever is navigating to this URL must send a certain parameter, right? Certain parameter to this URL, and it must pass that parameter through the what? Through the header parameter or through the header section of the request. So and that parameter that's actually coming in should actually be called header, right? So if we do this, what we could simply do is we could simply do the same thing by using annotate, okay, and then within our annotate we give the kind of remember this annotate takes two required parameters. So the first one by default must always be the type of information that you don't want that you're expecting. In this case, you're expecting string. Assuming you're expecting string to be the header that or the required parameter for that. Okay. And then the next thing is to explicitly tell Fast API that this is a header. So I can leave it as it is, and Fast API will know that this is this is what a header parameter there, and not a query parameter. So of course, we can as well pass other kinds of validation similar to what we did in our path, our query, and our body as well. So we can as well give max length and the rest of them. But for now, I'll leave it as that. And so I simply just want to return the header for now. The header for now. So we test this out. We will test this out, and we can still test out this in our browser because our browser does not provide us room to specify these header variables. So that's where Postman comes in again. So I'll load up my Postman, and once it comes up, we'll simply fire that request. We'll simply fire up that request. It's loading. Give it few seconds, and everything should be up and running. All right. So I'll make a new request, and this request I'll just simply copy one from here, copy a URL from here, and paste it there. All right. And then this one is going to dashboard. That was the route we used. This is going to dashboard, and just to access dashboard, it is expected that this dashboard should carry what a header parameter called header, right? So if I try to access this shouldn't work. They say that something is missing, right? And it's what header, right? And it's a header parameter, and the variable name should be what header. Okay. So how do we actually bypass this? Okay. So in the client side, right, there's how they wrap this header and then send it alongside the request. But for Postman, you can simply just go to header section, right? So what you see by default, right? So this one's here default. So you can uncheck this if you want, but I'll leave it as it is. So you can simply just add yours to the existing one there. Okay. Now in this case, we say that our what is coming in here should be header, or should be known as header. So it means that your variable there, it means that your variable in the header section should be exactly that. So you can see that we have two sections where you can have the key, the value, and then the description. Description there is not really necessary. What is actually necessary here is the key alongside with the value. So in this case, the key here should be called header. That's because that's how we specify it in our function there, that it should be header. And then, excuse me, and then the value could be anything. at this point, the value could be anything because we never actually specify, but than anything, but it must be what he must be string. So for now, I could just put certain things. So I was saying that if we try to access this, all right, without specifying that header parameter, that this we'll get this message here saying that that variable is missing. So what we can do is we can go to the header section, which is if you look closely, immediately after your authorization, below where you typed your URL, you will see header. Right. So there are others that are there by default. So you can actually choose to actually remove them, but I will leave them there by as it is. Okay, so and then I can now add mine, which is in this case the header and what the value. And the description here is not really that important. Okay, so you can choose to put it, you can choose to leave it. It doesn't matter. The main thing here is the key here and the value. So now I can actually carry out this request again, and this should do what this should actually go through, and then we've been able to do what to access that value and then return it back. Usually that's not what you would want to do, but for testing that actually works, so we have to actually show it back to the client. But when we start to build a real world application, and when we start to put all these things into practice, we wouldn't want to be doing that. So that's basically how you can actually specify a header parameter. And like I said, we can as well put in other variations, like the max and the min, since this is a string. So like the max length, you can say a max length of 10 and a mean length of let's say 3 yes. So that means if I try to put a header with a key less than that, then that should throw an error. So if you come back here and edit this and put like that key there and send this again, that should not work. So you see that I think our server is so we have the appropriate error saying that what a string should be at least 3 characters. So that should actually work now. So that for header. And when we start building real application, we see how we can actually use these things in our applications. Right. So once that is actually used to send additional information for a request. So you want to specify those kinds of information. The
This
other
repeat yourself.
parameter being the cookie parameter, it basically we use the cookie
I said
question.
you were breaking, so please repeat yourself.
Oh, okay, okay. So I was saying that similar to path and query functions, we can also pass a validation to it, and it will still work. And then I said that that's for header. But as a quick reminder, that header parameters is used to send additional as meta data for a request. That's to send additional information about a specific request, such as the authorization key, user agent, and the rest of them. Now you want to pass those kinds of information via the header parameter and not the request body parameter or the query parameter or the path parameter. Those kinds of information, those additional information about a request is usually or should be passed via the header parameter. That's the usefulness of that header parameter there, right? And that's what we are going to be using it for moving forward. So that is that for header. Any question? Any question? Okay, no. I'll assume no question. The silence means no question. Okay, so let's look at the cookie parameter. What exactly is cookie parameter and what do we use them for? So unlike header, cookie parameter is actually used to maintain state between the server and the client side. All right. So information like session ID is usually passed via the cookie parameter. So it's a way that the client side actually maintains certain information with the server side. Okay, such as login ID and session ID. Okay, so those kinds of information you want to pass them via the cookie, right? Because the cookie has a way of right, cookies have a way of preserving this information. So to actually create a cookie parameter, it's similar to what we've done so far to the body parameter, the query, the path, and the header. They are all similar, and they are all imported from the same model, fast API model. So I'll copy this and I'll just edit this there, and I'll call this excuse excuse me. I'll call this user details, and I'll simply just change this to cookie, and that's that. Now I could just simply just change this man here to cookie, and this should be cookie as well. And that is that about and that is that about creating a cookie parameter. We know that if we leave this like this, and then probably we just specify that we want the cookie parameter to be a string, then this will be considered as a query parameter, right? So you need to bring that, annotate, and then add the additional information by saying that this variable here should be what, a string, but also should be a cookie parameter or a cookie object. And then within this object we can do what, we can specify additional validation, right? So now let's see how we can actually do this. So but before that, let's try to actually access this information without that cookie parameter, and of course we will also see the appropriate error for that. So I'll copy this one and create a new request. And this request is user, let's confirm that, user details. So I'll copy this man, go back to my postman, and call this user details. Excuse me. Then we try to make a get request. And then it says what, that we are missing a variable called cookie, which should be in the cookie section. So so how do we actually set in this cookie parameter? Well, it's quite different, because if you look at here, we don't really have cookie here, but then we have cookies here. Right, so Postman actually provide a way of us managing these cookies. So to actually send in cookie, what we could do is we could go to cookies right there. You could see right below your send button, you can see cookies. And then to send cookie, we need to actually specify the domain for that. So I will simply copy this man, which happens to be our current domain at the moment. But when you deploy your API endpoint, the client side has a way of doing, of wrapping cookie within a GET request and sending it, right? So this is also not trying to build a full web application for us to do what, to go and send cookie from client side. So, but with Postman, we can simulate that process. And to do that in Postman, you simply go to the cookie side and then add the domain, right? And then that domain is being added, you can add a specific cookie for that domain. And in this case, I want to add a cookie that is called cookie though, and the value of it should be new cookie. And that is that. So there are other things that actually comes with adding a cookies, such as the expiration date and the path. We can leave that as it is, and then we save, and it's that simple. So you can go back again and make your requests, and this should go through. Okay, so this should be cookie. Let me confirm that. Cookie. Oh, sorry. The variable there should be cookie and not cookie underscore one. So cookie there, and then we save, and then we send the request again, and see that actually went through, right? So we can actually do what? Access that cookie parameters from here and then process it as we see fit. But by in real world application, we wouldn't want to send the cookie our response body, via our response body. So as we move forward, we'll see how we can process all these kinds of information that should not go to the response body, right? We'll see how we can process them. Any question? Any question pertaining to cookie? Cookies.
Good evening.
Good
Good evening.
evening. Good evening.
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
Yes, my question is that just like we have West body working with both put and puts. You see that this cookie and header only works with get a request, or does it work with both post and put as well?
It works with all requests. It works with all requests.
Is there anyone
Yeah.
that's ideal that you must always use it?
No, no. Both all of them works with all requests. The header and the cookie works with all requests. As far as that specific request requires additional information, then your header can go. Same thing with your cookie. If that particular request needs to maintain a specific state between the server side and the client side, then the cookie can still go. It doesn't matter if it's a get request or pull request, all of them can go.
But I'm still trying to understand the meaning of the head. So I'm still trying to.
The meaning of get request
The header itself, the header, at least I still have an idea of cookies. Maybe it's about storing sessions and the like, but the header
exactly.
itself, I'm still trying to understand what's the function of the header itself,
Okay, so the header, like
what
I
it
said,
does.
okay, so the header, like I said, actually it carries additional information, right? Such as authorization, because the thing is that the major characteristics of an API. Okay, what classifies something to be an API is that it must be stateless. Stateless in the sense that it should not it should not be able to hold information between each of those requests. So it means that if I should make a request to a login section and then I log in, if I make that request again, the server should not remember if it has logged me in before. That's how API should behave. Now, in order for the server to actually log me in, right? I need to send because I need to send certain kind of additional information, such as like my authorization key. Now, authorization key, you wouldn't want to pass it through the request body, right? So the appropriate channel of passing an information like authorization key should be your header section, right? But apart from that, it can also carry additional information like probably if you want to give um, this specific request, say a description or any other information that you may need about this specific, probably the location where this request is being made from, or the kind of device and so on and so forth. Now, those kinds of information, since you not be processing and saving them, those kinds of information can be passed through the header. Right. So that's basically what the header does. It just carries additional information for a request.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, sir. Any other question? Any other question? No other question. The silence means no other question. All right. Okay. So in the absence of question, that is where our class will end today. But like I promise you guys, today's class will be the shortest class, and of course, I believe that I have done justice by keeping that class short. All right, so that's basically all for parameters. All right, from next week we'll look at response body and form data and the rest of them. Okay. All right, guys. So that is that, and I'll see you guys Tuesday next week. If there's any other updates, I will do well to let you with us on the group. Right. For now, good night and have a fantastic good night rest. Bye.